everybody, it's Robbie from Southern California. And you know what? Today, I want to talk dirt. I haven't really talked about dirt. I always talk about how I compost in place, but I want to talk dirt, which is really soil. You know, I do a lot of container gardening, and Gary puts it in the ground and does some containers too. But here's a container, and I've been talking about making chairs and planting on chairs, but I don't ever really talk about dirt. And I do a lot of things on the free, but I make sure it's good too. Now, for me to fill up this container, this one chair container, if I would go to the store and buy soil, a bag of soil, a decent sized bag, that can cost anywhere from $3 to $10 unless you want a really good brand. This may take 2 bags. And so this whole thing, this small container, could end up costing me anywhere from $20 to $40. And if I went with a really good organic one, it could cost me a whole lot more. And that's one container. If you were doing a raised bed, a good sized raised bed, it could cost you hundreds of dollars, $300. And you know what? My opinion only, it's a waste of money. Most of these plants are only going down part way, their roots. They really don't go all the way to the bottom. They don't go all the way to the bottom when you make a raised bed. So if you're going to go buy a bunch of potting soil, I'm going to walk around while I talk about this. You're going to go buy a lot of potting soil. That potting soil or that garden soil really is going to cost you a lot of money, and it's not even being utilized. And there's really no reason for it. You don't need to put all that money out. I mean, I've got containers everywhere now. I've got another chair over there. I've got containers on the ground. I've got containers back there where all those squash are growing. I've got more containers back there, another one on a stump. I mean, it would literally cost me, if I went to go buy it, hundreds of dollars. And then it drops down. And if you read the label, a lot of them, the decent ones, say forest matter. Forest matter. Forest matter, I guess, are trees. It's trees. They're not putting dirt in there. They're not putting any sand in there. They are putting peat moss, because peat moss is a filler. And some people go run out and buy peat moss. I personally don't use peat moss. Peat moss is fine if you like peat moss, but here's the problem with peat moss. If peat moss gets dry in your containers, it is really hard to rehydrate. So you can end up with a mass of a lot of dried soil in there. Compost, whatever you want to call it. It'll just be dry. It's not going to rehydrate. And that's when you can end up running into problems. I really feel that you could do it on the free. And if not on the free, a little bit of money. Truly, this is the way I do it. We have so much food now growing everywhere, and it is basically everything on the free. Everything you've seen in my garden is pretty much free. The containers cost me, I pick them up at the thrift store. Sometimes I find them in the trash. But as far as soil, that's what I want to talk about today, is dirt. You can do it on the free. The bottom part of your containers, if you're doing a very large container, you know, you can use shredded paper. You can use ads that are soft. I don't use the shiny ads, but I'll tell you something, there's nothing wrong with it. The microbes are going to eat it all, no matter what. The paper is not going into your plants. The microbes like paper, and that's what's chewing it up. And I would put that on the bottom. So if you've got a lot of shredded paper, put that on the bottom. Now in Australia, I have mentioned this before, they use a lot of styrofoam because they are totally aware of costs and aware that when it comes to vegetable plants, most of them don't send their roots that deep. So if you're going to plant a lot of greens or squash or carrots and radishes and celery and different things, you don't need to have a container that's 3 foot deep full of good rich soil. So they use a lot of styrofoam. Me? Well, I actually use all my yard waste. And when I say yard waste, I go through my celery. that's all gone to seed. I chop all that down. I collect buckets and buckets of brown leaves, green leaves. When I say green, going yellow. Anything the plant can't use anymore, that's what I collect. That goes on the bottom. All that goes on the bottom. If I've got shredded paper, I put on the bottom. Here in the United States, the paper is supposed to be made of soy ink. So don't worry about it. It's going to break down. You don't want to do it? You don't have to do it. I do it. And the other thing is like I said, the leaves. You could also, if you're trimming trees, if you've got trees in your yard or a friend's yard, you can take big logs, big chunks of wood, and put that on the bottom. The microbes will eat that. It works beautiful. Have you ever picked up a piece of wood that's sitting outside in your yard and you pick it up and it's all going to crumble away? Because the microbes are eating it if it touches the ground. That's what happens. Well, just think, in a container on the bottom, it's going to do the same thing, and it's going to break down even faster. So you can fill it and get free dirt, soil, compost, whatever you want to call it, with junk from your garden. Anything that was a plant matter at one point, any type of plant, trees, bushes, it doesn't matter. Bury it. Put it on the bottom. When you're going to set up a container, let's walk over here. When you want to set up a container, and this one is a really big container, fill it up with a bunch of stuff from your yard or your neighbor's yard. Put a whole bunch of stuff in there. If you've got wood chips, fill half of it up with wood chips. Put in some green leaves on top. That's how I would do it. I would layer it with a bunch of wood chips, mix in a little bit of green leaves to it, and then start putting in mainly a lot of green stuff, brown stuff, yellow stuff on top of that. But the bottom part, which is going to be getting most of the water and the microbes, and the earthworms will be coming in there, all that, don't use expensive stuff. Then, when it comes to the rest of the container, let's say you take a good third to a half of just stuff from cuttings and trimmings and branches from your trees, and you load that in. Now, on top of that, if you can, I would add in a little bit of native soil mixed in with a lot of browning leaves on top. Just anything free that you can find like that. You got trees that are dropping leaves, rake it all up and put that on the bottom. Like I said, mix it in with paper and different things. Then on top of that, I would start to use more matter from your garden if you've got a garden. And if you don't, go to somebody's house and try to find things that have gone to seed. Oh my goodness, I filled up a whole container of just seed heads, and the squash grew huge because the seed heads, like let's say this celery for instance, and I used a lot of, all kinds of kale. This has got so many nutrients in it. It really grew really good. So all this that is really, wild for the birds, and they're going to get a lot of it, but whatever they don't get, put it in your containers. This is all free. Leaves, free. Put that all in there. But as far as if you want to plant in it right away, like throw in all that stuff as you're cleaning, do all that stuff and put it in. But I want to get some of those. I've got a chair back there I'm setting up, and I'm going to plant in it right away. So I've got all my stuff from the garden in there, my free soil. It's going to break down. And like I said, it could be chunks of wood and everything like that. All free. That went in there. But on the top, if you want to plant really good things in there, I've got beets growing in there, and I want to get some lettuce, and I'm not sure yet what else I'm going to put in there, beans. About that much, use potting soil. And that is your choice. You can go to the store and pick out potting soil that you like. I also mix it in because I've got, so much going on in my yard. The wood chips around here are starting to break down. So if I dig a hole, there's a lot of rich, brown, dark, black wood chips that have broken down. So I use that. But, if you could have to buy one bag, and the one bag costs you $10 for a decent bag, you may only have to put a half a bag in there, and then you can make 2 containers. It's up to you if you want to put the whole bag. And it's up to you on what you want to buy. Read the label and see what it says, what's in there. I mean, most of it's going to say forest matter and peat moss, and that's just broken down wood chips, basically. It's trees. That's what it is. It's trees that are broken down and whatever they've done to it. But that's what I do. I use, if I have to, I get a bag and I use that on the top, and this will leach in to the container and it will break everything down that's in there. All the matter I've put in there will eventually break down. In a matter of a few months, it's all broke down. In the meantime, you've got your plants growing. And it works good. And you can fill up you could do a bed, a raised bed. It probably will only cost you $20 to do that. My containers probably cost me, I don't even think they cost me $5. The last bag I got 2 cubic feet. That one was $4 because the company went out of business and it was a good deal and I bought it and I used half a bag in my container because the rest of it is fill stuff from my own yard. So that's how you could do it on the cheap. You don't have to have the best all the way to the bottom. And as everything starts to settle, it will collapse. They all do. And then you can add in more on the top as the plants grow or after you're done and you're going to plant something else. And you're making your own compost is what you're doing. So keep in mind, when you're setting up your containers, you don't have to fill the whole thing up with the best, most expensive soil. If you want to, you can afford it, more power to you. Go ahead and do it. Doesn't really matter one way or the other if the plants are going to go better or not, because I don't think they will, because they're only using the top part. But if that's what you want to do, but if you don't have a lot of money and you want to make sure you're starting to plant a lot and get a lot of food growing, then I would fill it up with shredded paper, things from your garden, rake up, vacuum cleaner. If you're vacuuming your house, throw that all in the bottom. Anything you've got. Stuff from the refrigerator. Oh, now I compost in place. And what I do is after I load it up with, let's say, branches and shredded paper and toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls and anything like that, after I do that, my food matter, my kitchen scraps, they go closer to the top. This way the microbes will spread all through it and the plants that you're planting in there will get the benefits right away. Just continue to fill up your containers or your raised beds. Put your food matter, your kitchen scraps, your compost towards the top. Some people say it's got to break down before it grows. Baloney. It will grow right in the matter that you've got. Throw some seeds in there. Have you ever done it? I have. Kitchen scraps, throw some zucchini seeds in there and they're going to grow in the kitchen scraps. So get that closer to the top. Then put a layer of potting soil of your choice, whatever you feel that you want to put in there. And don't forget, if you've got chickens or you have somebody that's got horses or donkeys or llamas or whatever, you can always add that in towards the bottom as well. But the thing is, get your kitchen scraps closer to the top, then put a layer of potting soil. If you want to get a really good brand like Dr. Earth, that's fine. If you want to go with Miracle Grow or that's fine. If you want to go with Kellogg's, there's so many different brands out there and a lot of the big box companies have their own brands. So, like I said, read the label. What I would personally not buy is if you pick up a bag and it won't tell you what's in it. If it won't tell you what's in it, who knows what's in it? If they don't know what's in it, then I don't know what's in it and I don't want that in my garden. One time we went to a giveaway and they were giving away free compost. This is many years ago now. When we first started gardening, we didn't know better. And Gary was all excited. Oh, look, free compost. It killed everything. Who knows what they put in it? He had to fill up all the trash cans. And can you imagine all the free compost that the trash company gave away because they had broken down compost was killing everything. Anything that touched, it just died. So we had to dig it all up and just throw it all away. I talked to a couple of my neighbors that went and got it and they were all excited. They said, oh good, we'll put it around our lawn area and the weeds won't grow. I said, yeah, but you don't know what's in it. And that's the way they thought. So they were happy with it. Me, no, we dug it all out and it all went back out to the dump where it belonged. But when it's coming from your yard, your neighbor's yard, if they've got a lawn and they do a lot of cuttings and you know that they don't treat it with any chemicals, that is perfect, absolutely perfect. So that's how you can get your containers cheap, if not free. And like I said, just add a small layer of potting soil to the top if you're going to plant in it right away. and you'd be great to go. And if you've got a fireplace and you've got ash from your fireplace and you're burning wood, not those logs that go for 5 hours that are made with all the chemicals and everything, I would not put that in my compost bins or my tubs that I'm growing in. But if you're using real wood, keep the ash from there and throw a handful in there. That is really, really good. And if you're in doubt that maybe you don't have enough, like if you want rock dust, you can go get rock dust. Or if you're in an area where you've got a lot of sandy soil or clay soil like us, I throw some native soil in there, and so I know there's minerals in there. But there's so many ways to grow on the free. Think of nature, think of the leaves that come off the trees and they fall, and then things grow underneath and they look so beautiful. And those leaves are falling to feed the plants too. They're feeding back their own trees that they fell from. So basically you're doing the same thing, but now you're feeding yourself. So that's how you can get free dirt. I know some people don't like the term dirt, but I want to talk dirt today, which is really compost, your planting, your soil. That's how you can get it free, and it will work. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for years. There is really very little purchased that's in my yard here. I collect all year. I've got the sun in my eyes. I collect all year all the leaves. I fill up buckets. Even if I'm not going to use it right away, I leave buckets and buckets everywhere until I figure out where I need it. I'm in the process of filling up another one, and it works so good. And the plants look beautiful, and we get so much food. It's basically, it's what grows, you're returning it back to the earth, and you're returning it to your garden. So I hope I gave you some ideas on that. And if you do want to buy potting soil, I've got some cheap potting soil I bought back there. You know, I bought cheap because I'm doing kitchen scraps. It's getting back everything that we haven't eaten, or, you know, eggshells and banana peels and anything that gets cleaned off goes right back to the plants, and that's the most nutritious. I mean, that's what the microbes like, and your earthworms gravitate to it. That's why I don't have to get the most expensive. I just don't want to get anything that's got anything that I don't want to eat in there. That's all. So check the label, see what the potting soil says, and if it seems like it's okay, then go ahead and go with that. Put that on the top layer and get something growing. Any questions? Ask me. I do the best I can. There's too many times I go on and I'll have like, oh, today YouTube tells me you've got 500 comments. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just me. Gary rarely answers all that. So I do the best I can. If not, I will address it in one of my garden tours, or I'll do a Q&A. Have a great day. Grow something. Even a small amount for us goes a long way. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye.